I've heard about GM food, genetically modified food. 80% genetically modified. There are genetically modified nuts and fruits and vegetables and rice and corn and wheat. All this food we are talking about poison, fertilizer, pesticides, violent farming. It's a violent farming. Kill the land, kill microscopic bacteria. And eventually that food is going to kill all of us. That is 7 billion people. What goes around comes around. My student asks many questions. Here is one example. Is it true that some foods we buy contain genetically engineered ingredients that are known to cause health problems? I'm going to answer a big yes, yes. Plenty of problems. First, made available in the United States during the mid-1990s, genetically modified, they are known as GM foods. GM foods have snuck into most major agricultural crops while consumers weren't looking. The majority of corn, soy, and cotton grown by farmers around the world today is from seeds genetically engineered to repel pests without the need for spraying pesticides or herbicides. GM versions of canola, squash, and papaya are also showing up around the world shelves. The potential health effects of genetically modified food products are still unclear, but while conclusive results have been hard to come by, some of the few studies conducted on animals fed diets consisting of genetically modified foods have generated disturbing results. In one study, potatoes engineered to contain an insect repelling gene caused intestinal damage in lab mice. While the mice did not die, lesions that formed in their digestive tracts worried researchers enough to recommend more thoroughly testing of the transgenic potatoes before marketing them to humans. In another study, mice were fed so-called Flavr Savr tomatoes, which were developed in the early 1990s by Carl Gene and were optimized for flavor retention. Similar lesions arose in the intestines of the mice, causing reviewers from the US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, to conclude that the data fell short of a demonstration of safety, adding that unresolved questions still remain. Yet later, yielding to the pressure of industry lobbies, the FDA not only approved the Flavr Savr for mass human consumption, but also claimed that all safety issues had been satisfactorily resolved. When the Flavr Savr hit store shelves, consumers were not particularly impressed with its taste. Farmers also found themselves coping with disease problems and low yields, the very problems that technology sought to address. Eventually, the Franken tomato, as some cynics dubbed it, was abandoned altogether. Its legacy lives on. However, many environmental advocates feel that the Flavr Savr case set the bar particularly low for FDA approval of other GM foods that may or may not cause health problems. Further, it remains to be seen that effects these hybridized species might have on the larger environment, which critics say is reason enough to delay the mass release of GM foods into the market. Meanwhile, European countries have remained steadfast against allowing GM crops to be grown on their own farms for fear of widespread environmental contamination. And they continue to debate whether or not to allow GM food imports into Europe. Good for you, Europe. Please don't do that. Keep organic farming all the time recommended to people, good natural food. And Europe, I love Europe because they set a lot of great role model things for the rest of the world. And for the past 2000 years, Europe has been a great land of enlightenment. And I think in food, keeping genetically modified food out of their shelves, recommending only organic food, I think I have to give thumbs up to Europeans. I think Europeans are healthy, body, mind, environment. So I think we need to come to ahimsa farming, not violent farming. Fertilizer kill the land, and pesticides kill insects. And organic, especially the industrial farming, is dangerous to biodiversity. You kill most of the life forms. And how can you live without other life forms? In the long term, biodiversity is absolutely necessary. It's required to keep us all healthy. Thank you, and you have a nice day. Bye.